Hey yo, I'm yapping here. What the? Like, subscribe. Let's get it. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're gonna be talking about 5 reasons that Goofy beats you. What do I mean by that? You just got passed up by a promotion or for promotion by the goofiest coworker you could have imagined having, and you don't know why. You went to all the extracurricular activities for work. You went to talk to your boss for your performance plans all the time. You're constantly in the chats. You're going about this the right way that you've been told to, but you don't have the returns. And somebody, for all intents and purposes, that you think is a dummy or goofy, beat you. And now you're on YouTube watching videos, watching some gaming videos, and trying to figure out why that happened to you or what happened there. Come with me in this video and I'll let you know what I think happened to you, because it's happened to me before. I've learned my lessons from it and I want to share that with you today here. So let's jump right into it and see what we got going on here to why this Goofy beat you. The first thing I think that happens to why the Goofy beat you is that the person that you consider goofy, was fearless and determined. And what I mean by that exactly, they were literally not embarrassed to fail. They weren't embarrassed to make mistakes. They weren't embarrassed to ask for help. They weren't embarrassed to get, egg on their face and then keep it going and wipe the egg off so they can make the next move their best move. They had the blind determination to just keep going. They were steadfast in what they wanted, because they knew what they wanted and they took whatever time it needed to get there, right? And it sounds like maybe you feel like you've done the same thing, but if that guy who was doing that beat you, were you really setting yourself up for success? Were you really giving yourself every chance to get an opportunity to succeed? Or were you too busy rewriting plans and trying to guess at what cheat to get you past the algorithm, as opposed to just putting in the hard work of uploading the video or studying a little bit longer, or making sure that your studying is effective in the first place by being hard on yourself and being critical about your study habits, right? There's a couple things we can do here as to why the Goofy beat you and you didn't get what you needed. And a part of that is coming down to just, the embarrassment you may feel or the fear that you may have of failing. That Goofy didn't have any of that. So make sure we keep that in check here, or try to keep that in check here, so we can get a little bit further with our efforts. The second thing that I think will happen when it comes to the Goofy beating you, as opposed to you getting what you needed, is that the Goofy is tunnel vision. One thing that people don't understand about what it takes to make it to somewhere, or how things happen, or how things can happen, is the fact that they don't stay focused. They don't lock in, as we like to say now. They don't lock in the goal that they could get to by just going at it and putting in that work. They don't do so. So what we need to do is to make sure that we have tunnel vision. Keep digging to the next. Keep digging to the next burrow, or just keep digging until we reach that goal. I want to say, keep digging until we reach that goal, and then see what's at the other side of it for what at the end of all of our efforts and stuff like that. The Goofy kept digging because they don't have the singular, or they have a singular mindset, and they don't have split focus across everything that they want to do. The Goofy kept digging, and so it was tunnel focus on that one visual, that one goal. So they just kept going. And one thing that we don't, us people who are in the position that we are in, we don't have what we want, we don't get that far because we kind of split our focus a little bit too much here, and that's a problem for just getting things done. A little bit in one bucket, a little bit in two buckets, a little bit in three buckets. You could have filled up with the bucket by just putting all that in one bucket, right? So let's make sure we try to keep that in check as well. Another thing that we need to, I think, look into when it comes to that is ignoring, or just having ignorance in the will to correct along the way, as opposed to trying to be perfect from the get-go. Goofy people and people that make it when we feel like they shouldn't, they kind of just have stuff ready to go, whether that's good or bad, or whether it's mediocre or half finished or stutters or whatever. It's ready to go. They have something to show someone. And in the right circumstances, that person that they show it to, or the people that they show it to, is going to see what they have and help them make it better by virtue of them having something to work with. You feel what I'm saying? Like, for me personally, I'm getting over my perfectionist leanings and trying to get over that for myself, because it stopped me from producing anything at all, as opposed to just having something out that I can fix later or correct later. And then we can go from there as far as making sure that the product is ready to go. The Goofy that makes it over you doesn't have that to worry about. They've done what they could do for the thing, finished it, and are moving on to the next thing to do, because that thing that they were working on before is finished. And the only thing we can do to curate that or get away from the issues with that is to just lock in and finish things before we think that these things need to be changed or something like that, or making changes that don't need to be made at all. We just need to lock in and make sure we can get that thing done. The other thing that I think that the Goofy has over you as to why they beat you to the position, or beat you to the punch, is that was they figured out humility. The classic trope of shows and animes. They figured out the power of friendship a long time ago. There was no room for the ego of, I have to finish this for myself and get this done by myself without any help. And because of that, they were able to get further because they had more hands in the kitchen, more hands on the pot to help them cook up what they want to cook up or needed to cook up. The Goofy made it really far with the power of friendship, because they realized that I can't build this castle by myself. I'm going to need help. And as opposed to trying to build it by themselves brick by brick until they get burned out or until the bricks crush them, they decided to get help from the get-go to fill in for their weaknesses so they can make sure that the product overall is stronger by the way of getting help from those people that help them out. It's something that people like us, right? People that, do get beat out by Goofies and stuff like that, and what we want, we don't really consider that because we like to do things on our own. I'm pretty independent myself, and it's definitely to a fault more often than not when it comes to just what I can do and what I want to do. I've been working on a couple things like this channel, for example, by myself. And granted, I'm doing a lot of work here. It does get hard. I don't have that much help because I haven't looked for help. And that's something that I may change here coming in the future, because it'll help me get more things done. And that's kind of the point I want to make with this one, is just to make sure that things get done. Like I said before, with the tunnel vision and the determination, it's just the courage and the ability to get things done will carry you further than having a perfect media situated or a perfect thing, situated for you. It's all about the process. And then using that to segue to the next point is that the Goofy has fun learning the process. They have fun learning something new, I personally have an issue with that. Sometimes I get really, I don't want to say lazy, but I get intimidated. I get intimidated a lot by learning new things. And learning new things is not always easy when I don't feel like I'm good at doing it initially, right? Which is something that I think that needs to change for, just anybody looking to do anything, looking to learn anything. Because if you don't have fun learning the methods or the process, or having fun doing the work, you're just not going to do it. There comes a certain point where gumption isn't going to get you further than the passion that you would have for the project in the first place. You need that passion to carry you there, and the gumption to help you bridge the gap between the passion and the end goal. But gumption is not going to get you as far as passion in a lot of cases, right? So we got to make sure that we are doing things that we like to do and are enjoying the things that we do, so we can continue to do them. It's as simple as that. And I know it's pretty simple, but I think people need to rehear this. It's something that we just don't talk about a lot here. And a couple of flex ideas as to why the Goofy beat you is that they have time blindness when it comes to goals. They are like super determined, and they don't really spend too much time looking at the time it takes to get to the goal. They may make it there sooner, they may make it there later, but as long as they make it there, that's the point, right? And that's what I think we need to adapt when it comes to finishing our goals and doing our goals and stuff. Something I touched on earlier is that the Goofy tends to fail a lot faster. They fail faster, but they learn faster from that. It's not an L if you learn a lesson from it. And if you can learn lessons rapidly, you're going to be that much better off in the long term than you would be trying to master something perfectly without failing, any time at all. It's not like a video game. We can take a no-hit run and try to get through that way. You have to fail to learn. That's the best way to learn. The best teacher is learning to not do the same thing again You don't want to mess up again, but you have to mess up first to get to that lesson. You feel me? Another sneak discipline that I think goofies have over a lot of people who deem themselves smart is the emotional intelligence of reading the room, right? If you're pitching somebody and it's not going pretty well, but you're so determined on getting that pitch off, you're not going to make the sale. You're not going to sway anybody's emotions. You're going to, burn out, and you're going to ruin that relationship because you weren't able to read the room. As opposed to the goofy who got that position over you, they were able to read the room at the beginning of the pitch and pivot so that they can make the point land for the person trying to sell to, as opposed to making it land for themselves, which isn't going to get you far, or get anybody far, because nobody wants to hear you talk about you. They want to hear you talk about how you can help them. And you have to be able to pivot from that as fast as you can, elegantly as well, so you can make those adjustments. It's a challenge, but it's definitely worth the effort. And I guess the last thing I want to touch on here is that they're constantly embracing new ideas. A problem that I have, especially when I've recognized that I've gotten beaten out by goofies, is that I didn't recognize or take anybody's new idea into my own preconceived plans, which made me stuck, which made me hard to get into or hard to get around when it comes to the learning of new ideas, implementing those new ideas into my craft. It's really that simple when it comes to doing so. Just take a breather, take a step back, and maybe the person is telling you that you should do this is give you a bit of advice you can take to heart. Even if you don't implement it, ultimately give it a try and see where it takes you. I think it'll take you a bit further if you tried it out, or at least you know what won't work for you, so you don't have to try it again. Simple as that. Thanks for joining me, and if you liked the video so far, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Always looking for new video game ideas from you all, and love to hear how your day has been as well. Thanks for chatting with me, yapping with me, and seeing what the channel is all about. If you look to your left, look to your right, you should see another video. If you don't, you'll see some soon. To check out my shorts as well. We got